Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week I share insight, inspiration, and advice for quantum leaping into new levels of expansion in your purpose and mission as a visionary leader and way shower. You'll also hear from other new paradigm leaders who share their inspirational stories and wisdom. If you're passionate about embodying your highest destiny and leading others through this great awakening into the next golden age, this show is for you. Hey everyone, I'm super excited and thrilled to welcome as a guest to the show today, Heather Ivany. She is a holistic practitioner and teacher of yoga, meditation, and akashic reading. For over 20 years, she's led teacher training, mentorship programs, and retreats. She offers a combination of innovative in-person and online mentorship programs designed to help the modern individual ascend and align. So awesome. Welcome, Heather.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Yes, my absolute pleasure. I'm excited to have this conversation. I'd love to just kind of start things off with, can you share with us more about what inspired you to get into this work? And by the way, more than ever, what you're doing is needed, right?
Yeah. It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've sort of been involved in what I'm doing my whole life, if you want to go all the way back to that. Spirituality has always been a part of me since I was young. And I've always taught, like even as a young teenager, I used to start off teaching and coaching volleyball to younger kids. And so teaching for me is the best way for me to grow and learn and understand. And I just have a soul that really enjoys being in service to up-leveling and supporting humanity. So it's just a good fit for me to be in the field that I'm in.
I love that so much. Tell us more about, who are the people that you generally work with, or what would be some indicators that's someone that it would be good for someone to reach out to you?
Yeah, so most people access me via way of the Akashic Records. So they will book an Akashic Records session with me. And my sort of niche with the Akashic Records is supporting people with identifying what their soul's purpose is in this lifetime, and then how can they align with that? How can they work with that? And so if the session itself provides the clarity that they need and they're able to comfortably move forward with that, then awesome, beautiful, our work together is done. If someone feels like they want to be supported in a mentorship way, in ways to access tools and resources to work with their soul, then I have a program that I work with called Unlocking You, which is supporting people who either feel stuck and want to unlock themselves, just as the title indicates, but also for individuals that have reached a point where they want to grow and expand, and they're not quite sure what their next step is. They're not quite sure how to grow and expand even more. So I work with both types of individuals. And then from there, I'm a firm believer that this information is not reserved for a selective group of people, the ability to access consciousness and be able to communicate with consciousness. So I also teach others how to access the Akashic Records, how to work with them either for themselves or as part of their business, or to do sessions on other people. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And that's really what it's about, right? Is helping others attain deeper levels of self-mastery, really just like more of a remembrance of what's already within them.
I love how you put that. It's beautiful. And I think too, like the degree to which the level that I'm to work with individuals is very much conditioned to the degree in which I'm willing to work on myself. So I find that my continuous depth and growth within my own connection to consciousness then starts to bring in a different caliber of people, or people that have worked with me before that are also ready to go to the next step within themselves. So I like sort of the reciprocity of teacher-student relationship, how I have something of service to offer and give back, but the students also, on a subconscious level, propel me into my next level of growth and expansion so that I can continue to be of service to them. It's fun.
Yeah, it really is fun. You know, for some reason, feeling guided to share. I once was having a conversation with someone else, just more networking, you know, someone I didn't know well, but he asked me the question, well, after I told him about the work that I do, you and I have some overlap in what we do with clients, but he said, well, how can you run a profitable business from, you know, empowering people to be their own leaders, essentially, because at some point they reach, you know, a certain place or whatever. And I said, well, I mean, first of all, like, have you seen how many people there are on the planet? You know, it's like, to me, it was just kind of an example of really the mindset around there not being enough, right? And there really is always more than enough. And I feel like that's really what it's about. It's just us connecting with each other and empowering each other, and beyond even what we may be trained for, you know, also just sharing with others our gifts in a way that contributes to their own ascension. And to me, it's not really even a process that ends, because even if someone masters one level, for, you know, I guess for lack of really a better way to put it, it's like we're all eternal students, and there's always opportunity for growth and support. And I felt guided to bring that forward because it is something that a lot of people, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, you know, think about when they're looking at monetizing what they're doing.
Yeah, I love, there's a few points here that you're bringing to the surface. One is this scarcity mindset. A similar example is the Unlocking You program that I offer is also offered to corporate. So when I was having a clarity conversation with a corporate leader, his concern was that the program would unlock his employees to such a degree that they would realize that they didn't want to work at the company that he had anymore. And you know, what if they all jump ship? And you know, it was a question that had never come to me before, but part of me was like, or you empower these individuals to such a degree that it amplifies and augments your business. Like why is our initial reaction to the unknown to go into the negative or the scarcity mindset? Why don't we instinctively move into the opportunity, the light, the higher frequencies that we can play with? So one was just like directing his attention in the opposite direction. Number one was like, let's see what else could happen if we work together. What else could happen with these employees? And so that was fun to open up into the light side of things rather than just leaning into the shadow. And then on top of that, it was just the recognition of, if this is the point that your clients are leaning into, or that you're scared that your clients are leaning into, one, let's also look at what your business is doing that makes you think that people want to leave. And number two, let's celebrate people that are willing to be open and upfront with their authenticity, and recognize that what they're doing in this moment isn't a good fit, and they want to try something different. And let's see if we can celebrate that if it comes forward, and encourage that individual to continue to move into the frequency of authenticity, so that others feel that ripple effect and are encouraged and inspired to do the same, right?
Absolutely. I feel like, you know, so much of that scarcity mindset or those fear-based thoughts come from societal and transgenerational programming, you know, conditioning, especially in the younger years, right, in an incarnation, because you're experiencing a lot of firsts. So it's like, the first time you experience, you know, someone telling you you're not good enough, you know, your little mind absorbs that like a sponge, and either you step into an awareness where you're able to shift it, but some people take that programming, those beliefs, and it manifests itself out into so many different facets of their life, into and throughout, you know, their adulthood. And it's just always crazy fascinating to me, because as humans, we are sovereign divine beings, you know, our souls, and we're here to create, to expand. Change is an exciting thing, right? You can choose to be excited about it and to be in a field of possibility versus, you know, that place of scarcity and not enoughness. Imagine what our world will be like when the majority of people can live in possibility.
Right, right. So what's the way in the work that you do, what's the way that you steer the individual that you're working with from moving from the scarcity mindset into the possibility?
Yeah, so it's really identifying, working with the person to gain a more conscious awareness of, you know, how it's actually hindering them in their path, determining the root of that, and then clearing it. As you, I'm sure you know from working in the records, and I work in the records as well, there can be quantum leaps in healing and in making mindset shifts. And that really goes back to the person's willingness to release whatever it is that's holding them back. And that's the other thing too, is so many people, I think, put off creating space for themselves to expand and ascend in their growth and on their path, because healing or growth has to be this long drawn out thing, and it doesn't. It can happen as quickly as you're willing to allow it to happen. And I think you brought up the word fun earlier. It can also be really fun. So that's the high level, but it does have to begin with the person having a desire for something different, for a different experience. You know, it's hard to help people that don't want help. You know, it's that whole free will thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's why that's what I like to tease out in a clarity call with people. So before we work together, we have what I call a clarity call. And in that call, by identifying what it is that they want and where they feel blocked, the next phase that we move into is there an urgency with you? Like this desire that you have for yourself. What's the urgency? Is there an urgency? And if so, describe it for me. How big is it? And yes, if there isn't the ability to be self-responsible or self-reflective, to be able to claim what they want and move forward together, then it's not a good fit. It's too much dragging along rather than supporting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. I mean, I believe, excuse me, it's more important than ever. We're living in a time where it's more important than ever that whatever that call is that someone is feeling, that they have the willingness to leap and answer it. Because, I mean, it's, you know, painfully obvious that a lot of the systems and like matrix that we sort of have been in for such a long time, there are so many systems that haven't worked, right? And so a lot of people, I believe, are being called to birth new creations into the world that support us as a collective in moving into this next golden age, in embodying a more elevated state of living and being.
Yeah, what I'm hearing sort of ping around inside when you're sharing like this birthing and this creating is for so long what I love that's happening right now is that the fields within us that want to imagine and daydream and visualize and intuit possibilities, this is finally starting to become revered once again. It was at one time, and it kind of got dismissed and put down and suppressed. And the dreamers now are the ones that are starting to create the new paradigm, the new reality. And so those of you, those of your listeners out there that have felt that this is an inhibition that they have, this catching themselves daydreaming or visualizing things that aren't quite in manifestation yet. This is really a beautiful opportunity for those individuals to come forward, because you're already ahead of the game, whereas the rest of us are more trying to remember what it was like to have an imagination, to actually want what I want, and to imagine myself going for it. These people never stop. So they're really, I think, need to be celebrated and revered and cheered and encouraged, because they're a big point in where we're going. And the other point, just at the beginning, everyone has a different perspective on it, but the part of me that is leaning into like the doomsday sort of mentality that seems to be taking place with, like, now more than ever, this shadow aspect has always been here. It's just had a very lovely bow tied around it, right? Like the systems crumbling, they've been crumbling for a very long time. We just weren't willing to look at it up until now. So what I feel is shifting is that people are starting to get more comfortable with the discomfort, more available in their schedule to be able to look at the thing that they kept putting on the back shelf. And as more and more people start to look eye to eye with the shadow, it's not that the shadow is rising, it's just that the shadow is starting to be exposed. It's starting to be seen more. And what I feel that we sometimes forget is that the degree to which the shadow is existing is also the degree to which the light is existing, right? We have this daylight in our 24-hour cycle, this daylight and this nighttime activity. So it's cyclical, it's of nature, and we are of nature ourselves. So if we're spending 80% of our time looking at the shadow and only 20% of our time looking at the light, then of course there's going to be this understanding that there's more negativity in the world than ever before. But potentially the light has never shifted. It's just our attention went more into the shadow. And so it's reminding ourselves to balance out a little bit by just looking at what is the opportunity that's being presented to me here? What are the ways in which I can see other options that are available to me now that weren't available to me before? And constantly and consistently not ignoring the shadow, but not being infatuated with the shadow.
Absolutely. I love that you put emphasis around the balance and the truth that we have the sovereignty to choose where we want to focus our energy. And that in order to change the outer reality, that comes from our inner reality. It starts with our thoughts, our emotions, following our soul's guidance. And then, as you said, making a conscious decision to take different actions that allow us to anchor that in, to embody that through our body in the physical reality.
Great point.
I could talk to you all day about this stuff. I'd love, because you have a retreat coming up, correct? I'd love for you to share with us what that's about.
Yeah, so this is taking place just out of Sayulita in Mexico, November, I think it's the 19th that it starts. It's called Harmonize. So it's a full body experience of consciousness. So we work with the physical body of nature. The resort is kind of located in the treetops So it's a very nature-based accommodation, but also still has all the modern amenities. And we're right by the ocean. So we're going to use the frequency of nature to support us in a physical body movement practice. Some days will be yoga. Some days will be more like intuitive movement. And then we dive into the Akashic records during this retreat. We also will be working with ceremonial fire. And basically it's an opportunity to just take away all of the distractions that we have in our life and just put yourself in a bubble for 7 days with a very intimate group of people. And there's opportunity for free time as well as intimate sacred time together. And through that experience, just offering a layering effect in the body on all the kosha layers to help to create more of a harmonious system that we can then take back into our everyday. So yeah, I would love for anyone who's interested to just reach out, and I'd happily share some more details with you.
That sounds so amazing. And we'll have information on that within the show notes as well for the listeners. Heather, in closing, what else are you feeling guided to bring forward?
Great question. You know, this question's very, the timing is perfect because I just landed on a program yesterday that was kind of percolating for quite some time. So it's working with light workers and energy healers on how to offer their business from a spiritual perspective. So working with the energetics of money and how to comfortably lean into your worth and to be able to have some skill set and tools to work with charging accordingly. As well as just leaning into the Akashic records for looking at the Akashic records of your business and how your business has its own soul, its own sovereignty, as you mentioned, that it wants to be able to bring forth into this world. And we are a conduit for our businesses. We are not the businesses itself. So yeah, it's working with non-traditional forms to help to grow and expand a light worker or energy healer entrepreneur.
Love that so much. And that you mentioned that we're a conduit for our business, right? That our business does actually have its own consciousness. So, so important. Heather, it's been an absolute honor and joy speaking with you today and having you on the show. I just appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, for taking a chance on me. We haven't met before, so I love that you just followed your intuition and reached out. And yeah, it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Awaken on Purpose podcast. Please visit me and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or at awakenonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can embody new levels of expansion in your purpose and mission as a visionary leader and way shower, visit me at jenniferspore.com.